bigger, and somehow we're related to Purim. Right? And the second topic, Parshat Zachar, sounds like it's about Purim, but it'll be about Chumash. But that's why you need a Chumash. There's a source sheet in the middle. If I give you the source sheet, you won't be able to pay attention. You'll see why when you see the source sheet. Okay. Now, the source sheet's like instead of a board. So I want to start something. All I want to do is begin with something which will be key for understanding the whole shir today. This one and the next one. Open up Perek Chav Daled. First, go right to 24/7. Just to see where we are in Chumash. No, Shmo 24/7. Shmo 24/7 is Nasa v'Nishma. But look in Perek Chav Daled and Sefer Shmot. Sugim that are famous. You see how important it'll be. In other words, if you're in Parsha Yitro, we entered a covenant to be people in the service of God. We came to our Sinai. God gave a proposition. Do you want to serve me? Do you want to be my covenantal partner? You'll be a Mamlechet Kohen B'Bay Kadosh. And we said yes, without knowing what we're getting into. That's why the rabbis compare. Well, I can't say that. That's why the rabbis compare it to marriage. But I can't say that anymore. Yeah, there's it right there. Take that one. But after we agreed to the agreement to be God's people, to work with God as a like sort of working together with God, being His covenantal partner. And then we get the contract, the Ten Commandments. Then we get Parshat Mishpatim, a set of laws. Not all 613, but a nice bunch of them have to do with building a just society. And then there'll be a bit of a Kiddush after the Shul, which is chapter 24. Okay? Will the Kiddush be Fleishiks or Milchiks? You might remember. Fleishiks. Remember? It's Parim. There's a Lot and Shlamim. And there's a ceremony. In the ceremony, Moshe reads some scroll called Sefer Abrit. That's Pasuk Zayin, right? Like Kach Moshe Sefer Abrit, like Rabbos Ne'am, and the people answer Nasa v'Nishma. That's why I call it 24/7. Moshe takes the blood from the korbanot, sprinkles on the people. That's it. And that's going to be this national act of accepting the covenant. Like we're all sort of baptized with blood. They stole it from us. But we do it once because we're a nation. And then a leadership group goes up the mountain to accept the award on behalf of the nation. Remember that topic? They see God. And that's over. Now, when that happened, you can argue before or after. Pasuk Yud Bet, for sure, is after this whole ceremony, because even though we got the contract and what we call the Ten Commandments, and a set of laws about, running a just society, Parshat Mishpatim, there's a lot more laws to be God's people. Okay? And therefore, what does God tell Moshe to do? Look down Pasuk Yud Bet. God tells Moshe, Alei Elai Hara, come up the mountain, Ve'yesham, and be there for how long? He doesn't say. Okay? And what's he going to receive? 3 things. Luchot HaEven, the Torah, and the Mitzvah. Now, it doesn't say Torah, it says Torah. He's not going up to get Hagbah. He's going up to get an instruction book, because Torah means instructions. And a commandment, or maybe the commandment. Now, these psukim are confusing, because if you look in the commentators, almost every commentator is going to give a different explanation of what each word's referring to. The Luchot we know. That's what you see in all the movies. Okay. The Torah and the Mitzvah, we're not sure. There's a big argument what they are, but there's something important, whatever they must be. Now, Moshe goes up, he leaves Aaron and Hur in charge. That's Pasuk Yud Daled. Any questions go to them. Moshe goes up the mountain to this, remember Pasuk Yud Zayin? Umrei Kvod Hashem, Keishocheleb Rosh Hahar. Moshe goes up into this ball of fire. And then Pasuk Yud Tet, Moshe goes to the mountain. And Moshe is there for how long? 40 days and 40 nights. Okay? Now we're ready to start this year. We're going to follow 2 cameras. Okay? There's one camera, like a drone camera, on the mountain, watching Moshe and God, in the cloud. Another camera back in the camp. Now, what should happen on Har Sinai? What are you expecting to happen on Har Sinai? Moshe should get the Luchot, remember? And get the Torah and Mitzvah. Now, how should that begin? Yeah, now, look in Perek Chav Pasuk Aleph. What's it say? It's called Parshat Truma. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Lemor. And therefore, what's the most logical thing? If I want to know what the Torah and the Mitzvah are, just look what the book says. Ha Mitzvah.
Why?
Because that's a question, is that a hey idea? Is it the mitzvah or the mitzvah? We'll see the big difference in a minute. No, it could be a general name for the mitzvot, or it could be a specific mitzvah. So we're going to entertain both possibilities. Is it a definitive the, like the, or is it just the? Now, and the Torah, is it the Torah or the Torah? Is it the instruction book or a instruction book? Got it? Now, the whatever it is, the most logical assumption to make would be, if I want to know what Moshe receives, let's see what it says. Okay? Now, if we're going to follow the camp camera, that would be the story of Chet Egel. That's not going to be until chapter 32 or something. But let's take a look at what happens now. Right? And let's see if there's a commandment or any type of instruction. What's the first topic? The most classic Jewish topic is, the first thing God tells Moshe, tell the Jewish people, collect money, right? And for every earring they donate, someone's going to donate another earring. So we have 48 hours. That was a joke. Okay. Now, okay. Being recorded, not good. They fell for it back then, they'll fall for it. Now, back to the first thing is collecting money. Got it? But there's an important line there. See Pasuk Chet, which is a general line. It's about collecting money, but the main goal is make for me a mikdash, and I'll dwell among them. Keep that pasuk in mind. We'll come back to it. Now, what's the next topic? Pasuk, I think, Yud. Va'asu Aron. Just all you have to do now. That's why I want you to have this chumash. Look at the beginning of every paragraph. Every parshiah has a. Ever see the parshiot? Va'asu Aron. Okay, that's it. And what's going to be inside the Aron? The luchot. And on top of that will be the kaporet. And God's going to talk to Moshe from the kruvim. That'll be pasuk Chabet. Now, what's the next topic in Chav Gimel? Va'asu Shochan. And then menorah. It's pretty organized this time. Perek Chavav, that the Mishkan Ta'aseh. Now, follow the verb la'asot. Va'asu, vasita, v'zesher ta'aseh. Got it?
I'm just confused because you're following the Ramban's, the angle down.
We're going to get to Ramban, yeah.
No, but I'm saying, you're saying that this comes right after.
I'm not saying yet. I'm saying first, let's see what it says. Then we'll decide when it was given. Okay. In other words, we'll see how logical it is. That, Ramban's going to hold, the Chumash holds, basically, that what does Moshe go up to receive? The laws of the Mishkan. Okay, we'll give a really good reason in mind. But I want to pay attention what's in this Dibur. Remember, God started talking in Perek Chafei, and He doesn't stop, right? All Perek Chafei, Perek Chavav, and follow the verb la'asot, which is a commandment, maybe the commandment. Then it says Mishkan Taseh, and then it says Vasita Kroshim, Perek Chavav, and then Vasita Parochet. Okay? Then we get to Perek Chav Zayin, Vasita Mizbeach, Mizbach Olah. And then it says, Vasita Chatzer LeMishkan. And then we have a little break for Shemen HaMishcha, but still God's still talking about Tet Tzadeh, this week's Parsha, I think. And then we have Vasita Bigdei Kodesh, and then Vasu. If both remember, then see Vasita, all Perek Chav Chet. You catching on? Remember Vasu? That would be a good. And we haven't stopped yet. Now, this also includes instructions of, remember, Asher Horeita Bahar, how to make them know how to do this. There's a commandment to build the Mishkan and instructions how to do it. And therefore, what's the best candidate for the Torah and the Mitzvah? The Torah are the instructions of how to build the Mishkan, and the HaMitzvah is the commandment to build the Mishkan. That'll be Ramban. It just makes it makes perfect sense, except what you learned in kindergarten. We'll get back to kindergarten in a minute. Now, look in Pasuk in Perek Chav Tet. We're still going on, aren't we? In Perek Chav Tet, what do we have? We have V'zesher Taseh Lehem L'Karesh Otam. Now that I have Bigdei Kuna and I have the priestly garments, I need a 7-day ceremony to inaugurate them, right? And they were Dati Lumi because they did. It's called the 7 days of Miluim, and they participated. Okay, no more political jokes. Now, then after the 7 days of Miluim, what happens next? It's a Torah Mitzvah Kolos, like midway with that. Now, then we have what's called V'zesher Tasala Mizbeach, Klasim Shnaim Diyom Elo Tamid. That's a Tamid in the morning, Tamid in the afternoon. And then Vasita Mizbach Toret, we're in Perek Lamed already. Yeah. And God finally finishes talking. Got that? All Truma Tetzaveh is God talking to Moshe on Har Sinai. One Dibur about the Mishkan. Okay. Look at what happens now in Parshat Kitisa. God talks again, doesn't he? We read this last week, Parshat Shkalim, didn't we? Right? God speaks again. And then look at the next paragraph. God speaks again. And then God speaks to Moshe again. Look at every little paragraph in Perek Lamed and then Lamed Aleph. Right? What's happening over and over again? Beforehand, God spoke once for 6 chapters, and now God speaks one paragraph at a time. Got that? And then we have then in Perek Lamed Aleph, he tells him to make the last thing was the court itself, and then in Perek Lamed Aleph, appoint B'tzalel. You need a contractor. Make sure you sign a contract with him, and what's the last one before the story of Chet? It's going to be Pasuk Yvet. Oh, even though I commanded you to build a Mishkan, you can't do it on Shabbat. Why? Because it's an old brit. And then the famous V'shamru b'nei Sot Shabbat. The last 2 lines that we say for Kiddush. And now, because if Shabbat is a reminder of our covenant to be God's people at Har Sinai, if you desecrate the Sabbath day, you're cut off from the covenant because it's a symbol of the covenant. And the same thing in the temple. The temple, we'll see in a minute, is a reminder of the covenant at Har Sinai in the realm of space. Therefore, anything you do wrong in the temple, correct. Right? Shabbat is symbol in the realm of time. Anything you do wrong, correct. That's why correct is in all these cases. Now, what do we have in this whole unit? The whole unit is about building the Mishkan. Got that? Now, what's Ramban going to hold? Why is this the first topic? Because we just had this big gathering. We just accepted upon ourselves to be God's people forever. The big moment in Jewish history. Right? We can't leave it. Got it? We take it with us. The example I like to bring, it's a really bad example if you see how I'm going to use it. There's all these gap year programs that basically I teach them for a long time. And without being a prophet, I can tell you at the end of the year, every program is going to make a sweatshirt. Correct? Every time. Now, no one 18 in Israel or 19 needs a sweatshirt because they have 20 at home, don't they? What do they need? They need a symbol of their year, of their experience. Got it? Now, what's that remind them of? Of the experience. Wow, what a great time. That was awesome. Right? Or, look how much we learned. You with me? And you can usually tell by the way, a little side comment. If you want to know who's going to be Israel's future leaders in 20 years from now, see who designs a sweatshirt and who writes the Purim spiel. Because that's a decision from the bottom up. You follow? No one picks them, but that's an indicator of leadership. Now, back to our topic. So what's Ramban going to say? Ramban's going to say basically that it makes so much sense. We can't leave Har Sinai. We need an eternal reminder of our commitment to be God's people. So we don't leave Har Sinai, we take it with us. And the same Shekhinah that was Nigle at Har Sinai is Nistar in the Mishkan, and you can already tell he's a Kabbalist. Okay? And that's but that's real Kabbalah. Meaning, what's Kabbalah? You can see God when you can't miss him, that's obvious, that's Nigle. But being able to find God even when he's not obvious, that's called Nistar. Like God's in Megillat Esther, but he's hidden. So we don't mention his name, but the goal, we hide his name so the reader will look for God in the same way you look for God in history. That's Esther, yeah.
Does that explanation indicate that the mitzvah, the Mishkan,
perfect, okay, that's exactly. In other words, if you follow Ramban, right, it goes totally against what you learned in kindergarten. Because who learned in kindergarten around then, at the age group, called 50 minus. When you were young, you all learned that the Mishkan was rehab for Chet Egel, wasn't it? And if it wasn't for Chet Egel, we could just be. But now, because we need something physical to relate to, we need that sweatshirt. Okay, let's make a kosher sweatshirt, kind of idea. Right? So therefore, most of us learned that this entire section of laws, right, which is written when Moshe, according to Chumash, if I follow Chumash in order, Moshe goes to Har Sinai and gets what? Exclusively the laws of the Mishkan. And Rabbi says, what's that coming to tell you? How important the Mishkan is as a reminder, an eternal presence of God. I can't leave Har Sinai, take it with us. The other approach is, we don't need such a thing because, I guess we don't need this physical symbol, but what? But after we make this egel, right, what's God say? These people, they need something concrete. And and it's a rehab project. Yeah.
But if that is so, why did Hashem...
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. Everyone fell right into my trap. In other words, if that's the case, why is Chumash out of order?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a great question. So the answer most people give is what? Ein mukdam muchar. That's not an excuse. That's
No, exactly. I mean, there's
got to be a reason.
this
Okay.
here.
Okay. So that's the goal this year, to explain why Ramban is 100% correct, right? But Rashi's even better. And we'll see why. Okay. Now, let me explain now for a minute. Just one little side point. Count up, as long as you have your Chumashim open. Then we'll get to the... remember we had that one big Truma Tetzaveh, was one Dibur. And then afterwards, from Parshat Kitisa, there's a lot of small ones. How many small little paragraphs are there about the Mishkan that God talks to Moshe in? The first one is Machzit Shekel, correct? And then what? The Kior. It's the second one. Then we have the Shemen HaMishcha. And then we have the Ktoret itself. Then we have appointing B'Tzalel. And then we have keeping Shabbat, correct? There's 6 little ones. One big one. Altogether? 7. And what's the topic of the 7th one? Shabbos. You ever notice that? That can't be by chance. You're already saying Chumash is up to something. Now, let me show you one other phenomena which is mind-boggling. Look again in the end of Perek Chav Tet. Look in Pasuk Lamed Chet. Look at Lamed Tet. You have Chumashim there. It's good. And here's another one. Here, use this one. That's good. This one here also. The end of Perek. What did we say? The end of Perek Chav Tet. Pasuk Lamed Chet is doing the Korban Tamid at the Kevet Taseh Baboker, etc. Let's start from Pasuk Mem Aleph. What's it say there? Mem Aleph is getting a summary of the Olat Tamid. Perek Chav Tet, Pasuk Lamed Aleph, Olat Tamid L'Dorotechem. Where do we put the Korban Tamid? Petach Ol Moed Lifnei Hashem Asher Yibayidach Hashem Le'Beridach Hashem. Where are we going to put the Olat Tamid? On the outside Mizbeach, facing the Kodesh Kodashim. Got it? Because we're going to meet. Now look at it. What will happen? I'm going to meet Bnei Yisrael where? Am Yisrael is represented by the Korban Tamid on the Mizbeach, which everyone donates to. And God's represented. Okay? God's represented by the Aron, correct? And we're going to meet, but we'll meet sort of buffered. Got it? So there's Am Yisrael is on the Mizbeach. God is in the Kodesh Kodashim, where the Aron is. And this would be the tent of meeting. Okay. Now, look at Pasuk, the next Pasuk. V'kidashti et, Pasuk Mem Gimel. V'kidashti et Ohel Moed, Vet HaMizbeach, Vet Aron Banav HaKresh Shachayim Li. What's that doing? That's a summary of everything we just did, isn't it? Ohel Moed is where the Kelim, that's the Mishkan itself, with everything inside. The Chatzer, the Mizbeach is the Chatzer, and Aron Banav, that's the big day Kuna and the 7 days of Biluim. Okay. And look at Pasuk Lamed Mem Dalet. V'shachanti b'toch b'nei Yisrael, v'ayti lehem Elohim. What's that closing up? V'asu mikdash v'shachanti, ending with v'shachanti. You understand how perfectly organized this unit is? It's a perfect unit about Shekhinah, and only afterwards, what happens in Perek Lamed? Mizbach Ktoret. Understand what's happening? In other words, I have a unit that's highlighting Shekhinah. Build this, and the Shekhinah will come. After I have Shekhinah, oh, by the way, I need Ktoret. Why? Because if you remember Har Sinai, when you encounter the Shekhinah, it's dangerous. If you remember the story in Devarim, we're going to be burnt up by this fire. In other words, if you get too close to God, people say we're going to die. It's too intense. And when the Shekhinah is present, oh my, you have to be like the principal walking into the room when you were a little kid. Everyone all of a sudden stops chewing gum and sits straight. So now that God's presence is felt, man wants to encounter God, but it's dangerous. I need what's called protection. Okay? And what's the word for protection in Hebrew for Shekhinah? Kapara. The chaper is protection from Shekhinah. The Kohen Gadol wants to go all the way indoors. What's he need? Kapara, doesn't he? What's happening is that we want to encounter God, like happened in Har Sinai. But to show God that this encounter is dangerous and we're not worthy of it, we need protection. So bringing kapara makes the encounter with God meaningful. And it's highlighting who's boss. But first I have a unit of the Shekhinah, and all the leftovers, first Mizbach Toret, and then we'll see later, the Machzit HaShekel, which is L'chaper al nafshotechem, isn't it? Kesef HaKippurim. And then I have the cure to wash your hands so you don't die. And then the Ktoret itself, which goes to Mizbach Toret. Basically, I have a whole unit that protects us from the Shekhinah. You with me? So now we have this whole unit called the Mishkan, beautifully organized. And basically, this whole project, if you want to say something cute, it's not that the nation is going to build a Mishkan, the Mishkan is going to build a nation. You with me? If you ever run summer camp, that's a class for Madruchim. Then you do. The goal is not to keep the kids out of trouble, right? You give them a project to build community. The same thing if you ever started a shul. It's not the community doesn't build a shul, the shul builds a community. Right? And if the rabbi doesn't understand that, get another rabbi. That's classic, isn't it? That's why a shul is called a mikdash ma'at, because it serves the same function. Now we're going to get to work. What did we just do? We just identified this unit called the Mishkan. Now, let's follow what happens with the camera back at the camp. Okay, that's Perek Lamed Bet. I'm just going to review, the story. Moshe doesn't say how long he's going up for him, because, and the people don't have Rashi. Don't understand my joke. It means the people don't know that Moshe is coming down in 40 days. Because Rashi tells you that. Remember the dark by 6 hours? Bashesh? But that's a midrash. In Pshat, they don't know. So that's all the other Parshim explain they don't know. And therefore, they're assuming, right, he's going to come down soon. Are they going to wait 100 years? No. 200 years? Yeah. Are they going to wait 1 year?
Maybe.
Yeah, I doubt it. Huh? Will they wait a week? Sure. Yeah. 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, you're pushing it.
Yeah, but 4 weeks, you follow? So, somewhere between 2 weeks and a year, what conclusion will they reach?
He's not coming back.
He's not coming back, correct? Make sense? Who's their babysitter? Aaron's the leader, right? Now, he was supposed to keep them until the parents come back. What happens if the parents don't come back? Now, as a nation, assuming Moshe is not coming back, which is totally logical, right? Assuming Moshe is gone. He's disappeared before for 40, you remember? Maybe he went back to Midian. We don't know where he is, but we don't know what happened to him. He went into a ball of fire with no food. You follow? It's only logical to assume he's not coming back. Therefore, what are their options as a nation? Just think logically. What are the options of Israel as a nation now? What? Now, whoever the leader is going to be, Democrat, Republican, left wing, right wing, what's that? They pick the wrong leader, the Supreme Court will solve the problem. What? No, but whoever the leader is going to be, what are their options as a nation?
Go back to Egypt.
Go back to Egypt, number one. Other option, stay in the desert. Other option, go to Israel. Now, in the Torah Mitzion, what's the obvious? What's that Mizrahi magazine around? Of course, we're going to go to Israel, right? Now, go back to Egypt. You have to give the money back. Well, that's stay in the desert. That's like it's ridiculous. They can't stay in the desert forever. There's no hotels yet. No. And therefore, they want to go to Israel. But what's the downside of going to Israel? You have to conquer it. Now, have they fought wars before? Well, they beat Amalek, right? They beat the Egyptians. Right? They did all those plagues, right? But who did it?
Hashem beat it.
But what did they see? What did they see?
Moshe.
Of course they believe in God. Moshe, what was Moshe holding for all those miracles?
His rod.
Yeah.
Remember? The sea, all the plagues, split the sea, open the sea, split the sea. Uh-huh. And when they fought Amalek, if you remember, we're going to read it. No, not his hand. What's in his hand? The Mate Elohim is in his hand. Got it? Now, which means that's Elohim is power, isn't it? Ruach Elohim is a powerful wind, according to a lot of Parshanim. Mate Elohim is a powerful, boy, that's a powerful staff, isn't it? And therefore, what do they need? God promised them, I'm going to send a malach to lead you. They assumed to be Moshe. They need a Republican president. How's that? No, they need they need a military power to do what? To conquer Israel. And therefore, what do they ask Aaron to do? Just read the first pasuk. Kuma lanu Elohim asher yachul lefaneinu. They're not asking for a God. They ask for a power to lead the way to conquer Israel. Why? Because Moshe is gone. They believe in the same God, but they need a replacement for Moshe's magical staff or whatever, some power. Now, It's Aaron's idea to make this symbol. He makes the sweatshirt. You follow? Every army goes to war with the symbol of their nation. It can be a flag. It can be a thing. It's in every movie. That waving the flag.
But Aaron had a staff too.
What?
Aaron had a staff too.
But that was just a sign for. First of all, we didn't get to his staff yet. That was they married. That's been Parsha Korach. We didn't get there yet. God tells Moshe to give.
Mean it didn't exist.
No. He has Moshe.
Moshe.
No, but the Mate Elohim that God gives Moshe. God tells Moshe, give your staff to Aaron. That's how most people read it. But that whatever it is, Aaron has a good idea. I'm not saying he could have had something else, but Aaron's idea is to make the egel. It's his idea to collect the money. He does the cost match. He says, give me your money. He makes the egel. Okay? And to make sure this egel is going to represent God properly, what does he tell them to do? Look in Pasuk Daled in Perek Lamed Daled. Veive mizbech lefanav, v'yomer chag l'Hashem machar. Aaron believes in God. The people believe in God. Of course they believe in God. But what? Aaron wants to make sure that this symbol of God that he just made that's going to lead them in battle, to show them that God's their leader, to make sure they understand that this is a symbol of the God of Har Sinai, he repeats the Har Sinai experience. Because what does he build? A mizbech in front of it. It says a holiday for Yud Kei Vav Kei tomorrow. Okay? And they bring Olot and Shlamim, and they drink. That's the same thing they did when they said Nasa v'Nishma, right? It's exactly Perek Chav Daled over again. That's why we started there. Yeah?
Are you suggesting that Aaron accepted that Moshe was gone?
It's only logical, isn't it?
No.
Why would he know? Why does Aaron say to people, wait another week? I told you Rashi.
Right.
Aaron doesn't have Rashi.
Why doesn't he say that?
Because he doesn't know.
But he doesn't. But why would he accept the fact that everything he's been through with his brother Moshe, that he accepted?
Moshe never disappeared before for 60 years? And he went to Babel. I'm saying it could be thought otherwise, but it's logical he thought that he was gone. We don't hear him saying anything different, do we? Maybe he's stalling, okay? But he doesn't know. That God, no one knows he's coming back. And so that's why I began. They're not going to wait a year. Sometime between a month and between a week and a year, they're going to realize he's not coming back. You can't do nothing. You follow? You have to do something.
So why isn't Aaron punished?
Why? Moshe doesn't say you did something wrong. Moshe says, what did you do to cause them? You never had campers, or and you had a great idea and it turned into a disaster. You never tried a project you thought was a good idea and turned it into a total mess. Never studied Zionism. What?
What was I thinking?
What was he? Now, what's he said? What does Aaron answer Moshe? Remember, he says, what did the people do to you? You caused them to sin. He says, it's your fault. You left and didn't come back. And had to do something. And made this egel. He meant well. You follow? He meant well. People have never, no good deed goes unpunished. You know that very well. What?
Why an egel?
An egel. So there's two classic reasons. One is chizkun, is that, remember when they said Nasa v'Nishma, that leadership group went up the mountain and they saw God. They saw the bottom of God's feet. That was the brightest thing possible. That's in Perek. And in Yechezkel, when he has a similar vision of God's chariot, right, with those four faces, the bottom of their feet look like the feet of an egel. That's a classic answer. But I have another explanation, which I like better, is that if you learn in ancient Middle East history, there's lots of gods. They find them, they dig them up all the time, look in the museums. Most of the gods are riding on an animal. Usually it's I'm pretty sure it's a ox or a bull usually. All the gods are called Rochev Aravot, if you remember that, Rochev Al Kruf. Gods are riding on animals. That was the custom. That was Menachem. In Richmond, Virginia, until a couple years ago, every major intersection in Richmond had a general from the Civil War. A Confederate general, of course, Robert E. Lee and his whole chevra. You follow? But they weren't standing. They were what? They're all on horses. Now, a couple years ago, what happened? Oh, those, what do you call it? Those generals, right? They owned slaves. Right? And they didn't have our values of progressive Democrats and whatever it was. And therefore, what did they do? Right? They cut them down. When I heard that, I had a great question. I asked, what happened to the horses? What did they do wrong? Right? Did they just cut down the generals, or the horses still there or not? And they told me they took down the horses also.
Why they get down the horse?
Because they don't connect it.
No, that's my whole point. 1 second. Because the whole purpose of the horse is to hold the general. You follow? Got my analogy? Now, Rabbi Yobin said like this, if I understand correctly. He didn't use the Richmond joke, but that was my add-on. Okay? If I want to give a symbol of a God that's invisible, what do? I have the pedestal and nothing on it. Understand? I take most places have a God, not it, sitting on a pedestal. Usually some animal, like some type of a calf. If I have the pedestal and nothing on it, what am I saying? My God is invisible. Now, how are we going to solve that problem in the Mishkan? I have a symbol. What's our symbol of God in the Mishkan? No, the Aron with the Kruvim on top of it. The Kruvim are protecting the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is with the Aron. And I need, remember, Kruvim protect Gan Eden, they protect the Shekhinah. So I have a symbol of God with protection. But I can't look at that. I have a Mizbeach in front of it, but I don't want to see it. So I cover it. And what's that covering called? And another covering on top? A Mishkan. That's the Mishkan Tesa Eser Yuriot. We ultimately have a symbol of God, don't we? But we can't see it. So you understand? The first idea was, let's have a symbol of God with the pedestal with nothing on it. Now, okay, you have a symbol of God, which is our connection to God, the Brit, the Luchot, but we have to cover it so no one can see it, but I build a Mizbeach in front of it. Basically, what I just explained, the Mishkan is a kosher egel. I mean, why? Vayibin so Aaron. What happens later? Right? Am Yisrael has this project, builds this Aron made out of gold, collected from the people, just like Aaron did. They collect everyone's gold. They make a symbol of God, called the Aron. That Aron is going to lead them in battle, isn't it? Vayibin so Aaron v'imar Moshe, Kuma Hashem b'yafut tzayvecha. Cross the Jordan, the Aron, the Kachrin Yericho, leads the way. Right? The Aron led them in battle. We said it this morning. Hashem is the Aron, and then he's Mech in front of it. So basically, what in essence is the Mishkan? It's a kosher egel, isn't it? Do you understand the parallel? Again, Aaron could have done something different, for sure. I'm just trying to give a logical reason for everyone's answer. Okay, I'll take the questions. Let me give out the pages in the meantime. This is the first page. Okay, the whole thing. Here. Pass these around. Yeah, sure. Ask down. What?
Chazal, I always learned it.
That's Midrash is wonderful. That's not pshat. Why is Midrash they killed Hor? Why? Because how could Aaron do it? Number one. And when Moshe left babysitters, he said, Aaron and Hor are your babysitters. And what happened? And Hor was Moshe Rabbeinu's left-hand man, wasn't he? A right-hand man? Mm-hmm. Okay? And all of a sudden he disappears from Chumash. What happened to him? So they have two questions. What happened to Hor? And why did Aaron give in? So what's the Midrash say? Hor said no, and they killed him. That's why Aaron said yes. That's a beautiful Midrash. It's not shot, that's all. Here, everyone have to pass these around? Let's pass them here. We have here. Here we go. What do you have here? Good. There we go. We have one other quick question. Yeah, question.
It's sort of a complicated question.
Yeah.
We're looking at all these things as symbols.
Yeah.
That Bnei Yisrael.
Wait, anyone need a page? Oh, here, pass them back there.
We don't have it.
That's it. Who doesn't have? Okay, one more. Let's give me one more back. Here we go. Okay. Raise your hand if you need. One more. Okay, here we go. Last one. Okay, good. Yeah, question.
So maybe a complicated question, which is we have all these symbols
Uh-huh.
to keep the people in touch with Hashem and what Hashem wants.
Uh-huh.
So it makes me think, families. If you have 5 kids, 6 kids, and they go away from you, and if you want to stay in touch, what do?
Give me a little silver kiddush cup.
No, you call them. You call them every week, Erev Shabbos, and you say what they're doing, try this, try that. It makes me think, why did Hashem limit his direct communication with people? Only Moshe Rabbeinu and Nevi'im, etc. Instead, if he's Hashem, he can do anything. Why doesn't he do direct?
Okay. I hear your question. I'm going to give a general answer. On every story in Chumash, like your question there before also, he could have done something else. That's what by calling Yiddish Akasha Namaisa. You heard that before? Yeah. In other words, then, when I study Chumash, I try to understand what happened, and I can't prove from what didn't happen. You follow? God could have done something else. But there could be 1,000 reasons why I didn't do something else. I can only study what happened, and I try to explain what happened. Now, the fact that something else could have happened, for example, God could have made us with 6 fingers instead of 5. Right? So it would make a lot more sense if we had 6 fingers. Right? Then it would match our hand, would match the clock. We have 12 fingers, 1 o'clock, we wouldn't get all mixed up with, we wouldn't need digital watch, whatever it is. Right? But that doesn't prove that God didn't make man. You know? I'm just giving a general answer. I'm not. Your question is an excellent question. That's a class in theology, whatever it is. Right?
Then you'd have to count in base 12.
Yeah, but base 12 would come naturally to people, like base 10 does. We count in base 10, but
I'm not saying,
base 2.
I'm not saying we would have an answer. I'm saying, is there any drush?
Oh, there might be. I'm saying, but then I'm saying it's a great question, but it's I can't. It would take too much time to answer. Right, now, what I'm trying to do, again, all your questions are fine, legitimate, but I'm trying to explain the way I understand it. Okay, I have an explanation now.
Are the
What
luchot already in
in the Aron?
the Aron?
What do you mean when?
No.
When God commands the Mishkan, He tells Moshe, take the luchot and put them inside the Aron. Although it's the first luchot or second luchot. Whoa, what a question! Yeah. The machlok, the parshanim, that's awesome. Wait till you read Parshat Ekev and all the parshanim there. When did Moshe break the luchot? Before he davened, after he davened? Oh, it's way too complicated. But let me just get to because we have 15. We have till 10:15. Yeah. Watch what we're going to do now. We'll do a little magic trick, okay? I want to show you how Ramban and Rashi are both correct. You with me? Because Ramban cannot be wrong, because you can't miss the connection between the Mishkan and Mount Sinai. Why? At the center of the Mishkan is the Aron receiving the Torah. That's the top of Mount Sinai, where Moshe gets the Torah. On Mount Sinai, a leadership Kohanim came higher and got closer to God, but not all the way to the top. Remember that story? That's the Kodesh. Got it? At the bottom of Har Sinai, there's a Mizbeach and Olot and Shlamim. That's the Chatzer. Got it? But in order to come to the event, you had to be Tahor. You had to do V'kidash Tema Yom Machar. Right? So I have simply, there's so much imagery in the Mishkan that reminds us of Har Sinai, especially the Dibur from the Kruvim about the commandments. Because the goal of Har Sinai was not just, when you visit the Mikdash, right, you're not coming as a consumer, you're coming as an employee. And you're coming to remember, when you come to remember Har Sinai, if I gave that analogy for your gap year, I'm remembering, oh wow, what an experience. Oh, or, wow, how much I learned. And I want to learn more. So when you come and visit the temple, or you're coming to remember the commitment you made at Har Sinai to be a Mamlechet Kohanim B'Goy Kadosh, and how you have to study Torah and work your best to be a good servant of God, or am I coming as a consumer? Oh, do me a favor. You understand the difference? Now, I can take the same thing because a shul is a mikdash mat. When I come and visit God in shul, am I coming to remember my commitment to be a servant of God? Like, I don't know, after the Kucha Bricho, some people mumble when they take out the Torah. Some people say, Hodu Lashem Hadu, Zer Avram Avdol, B'nei Yaakov B'chirav. Some people pray, Hallelujah, Avdei Hashem, Yalu Et Shem Hashem, in Hallel. Some people say, it's like all through davening. Some people on Shabbos daven that they should serve God with to purify hearts so we can serve God with truth and not be phony. But our goal is to be Avdei Hashem. Moshe Eved Hashem. Now, to be a good employee, you need to study the guidebooks. You follow? Our guidebook is called Torah Shebichtav, Torah Sheba'al Peh. Their interpretation is called Torah Sheba'al Peh. But we come to shul to learn, to hear the rabbi's speech, to get guidance, to study, and meet and talk, and have projects. It's called a big knesset, not a big tefillah. Tefillah is almost, you got to do something. But most of tefillah is remembering that he's your boss. It's called Kabbalat Malchut Shemaim, in case you had. But that's what Shema is about, isn't it? Shema is not a prayer. It's accepting God as your boss. Because the main thing we do when we come to shul is reminding ourselves that God's our boss, and our goal in life is to serve God. How to serve God? Ask your local rabbi. Or study the books he gave us, and try your best and do it with honesty. And don't turn it into a sinat cleanup game. Let's try your best to be a good Eved Hashem. You can argue maturely, but that's in general. But what I'm getting at is that it makes sense that I need an eternal symbol of the key event in Jewish history, Am Yisrael accepting God as their boss at Har Sinai as a nation. Got it? Now, therefore, it makes perfect sense you need a symbol of God. I'll bring a better proof. Go back to Parshat Mishpatim. In Parshat Mishpatim, we have the Sholosh Regalim. That's before Chet Egel, on the same day as Har Sinai. There's a mitzvah there, shosh pamim b'shana. Shosh regalim tochogzi, right? Yerek kol shchurcha b'nei Adam. 3 times a year you have to go visit God. Got to go somewhere. Reshit bikrei adbatcha tavi beit Hashem elokecha. Remember, lo tfashak di b'chalei bimo? That's in Parshat Mishpatim. There has to be a house for God. You follow? That's not an afterthought. The need, like Rabban is saying, and that's the first source, okay? He says, V'sod HaMishkan. That's the name. V'sod HaMishkan hu shiyah hakavod asher shachan al har Sinai shochen alav b'nistar. That's Nigla Nistar. V'ya b'mishkan tamid im yisrael hakavod shinra alam b'har Sinai. He's saying it makes so much sense, and therefore that's the first source, in source A, on the source sheet. Then you're on the flip it over. Flip there, this side. You follow what happened? The Rambam makes so much sense. How could you argue with him? Until you read the story of Chet, and it's almost the same story. Now, Rabban has a better proof in C. Okay? When Moshe went up to Har Sinai in Perach Avdalad, we sort of skipped over it, but that's when he goes up to get the Torah, the Luchot Even, and the Torah and the Mitzvah. Vayam Moshe Har Sinai v'chas hanan et ahar v'yishkon kvad Hashem Har Sinai. So when Moshe goes up to Har Sinai to get the Torah and the Luchot, it says v'yishkon kvad Hashem Har Sinai v'chaseu hanan. At the end of Parshat Pekudei, at the end of Sefer Shmo, when they finally get the whole Mishkan together, what's it say? V'chas hanan et om moed kvad Hashem eleit Mishkan. Rabban used that as an anchor to prove that what? That the same Shekhinah that was on Har Sinai now is on the Mishkan. That's his anchor proof. That he brings a lot more. But you can't argue with that. Now comes what I want to add now. Now, on the other hand, now flip the page over. Okay. I just gave a reminder of the covenant Har Sinai. I'm assuming you all know that. That's the covenant. And when I come to Mishkan, I come to remember that. That's called Kabbalat Omachut Shemaim. He's our boss. Now, after we got the 10 Commandments, in the end of Parshat Mishpatim, that's source E, okay, God made a promise to the people on the day of Matan Torah in Parshat Mishpatim. Right after the after the law section is over, 3 chapters of laws of Mishpatim, and building a just society, God makes a promise, Hine onochi sholech malach lefanecha. I'm going to send a malach to lead you lefanecha. To lead you to where? To the land of Israel. You better listen to this malach, because he won't forgive you, etc. But if you listen to him, your enemies will be my enemies, your adversaries, I'll help you to win. And I'll bring you and you'll conquer the land. God promised military help on the condition they keep the mitzvot. Now, Moshe's gone. Everyone's assuming this will be Moshe. Moshe's not back. They need a malach, which will lead them. And therefore they go to Aaron, look on the left side. The people see that Moshe's delayed coming back. They go to Aaron, who's put in charge, and they tell him, Kumasei lanu Elohim asher yechol lefaneinu. Got that? They want a power that will lead. They want this. They want whatever. We don't know. Moshe Rabbeinu himself is going to ask who's this malach, isn't he? Remember in Parshat Ketisa? Remember Hodina Drachecha? Who's going to lead us? Remember, is it me? Is it somebody else? But it makes sense what they're asking for. They're asking for a power to lead them in. Now, why is God angry? God gets angry because of how they celebrate. That's called Vayikumu Litzachek afterwards. Remember? Aaron tries to make the symbol of God into a symbol representing God in Har Sinai. To the people, it's a party. Remember? Vayichlu Vayishtu and Vayikumu Litzachek. You name it, they did it. If I go back to my gap year program, you make a Malva Malka, right? You have the Rabbi and the Pam, and then the teachers are gone, but there's a band, and there's someone spikes the drink, someone brings something else, someone switches the music, and they're back to the high school culture.
They're using the word Elohim. They're not saying Kuma Seilanu Malach Lefanei. They're saying the word Hashem. So
they're saying no. They're not saying Hashem. Aaron says Yud Kei Vav Kei. They're saying power. Elohim means power. In Parshat Mishpatim, the name for judges is Elohim, isn't it? The name for other gods is anyone with power is Elohim. The Asher Yechul Lefaneinu is key, because the phrase Asher Yechul Lefaneinu matches perfectly the Malach Asher Yelech Lefaneinu.
So they're asking for the Malach. They want to know who it is.
Moshe can ask who it is, but Aaron, it's your problem. We want. I can't say Republican presidents. We need military help. You follow? Now, the question is, if your entire connection to God is God working for you, employee mode, and why am I so happy? We have this powerful God who's going to conquer our enemies. And then what next? Is after I defeat my enemies, am I going to be the new bully of the Middle East and do what they did, or am I going to be a nation representing God? You follow? Hashem Yizuz v'Gibor Hashem Gibor Melchama. At the first stage, right, the first buy-in is like Shirat Hayam. It's all military, isn't it? What do you call it? Hashem Yishmochama, Hashem Shmo. Right? They're a nation that's been slaves. It's understandable. They're so excited we finally get to have military power. We've been in slavery for hundreds of years. We're finally independent. We have an army. We can do it. The question is, and God's going to help, if that's a necessary stage, the question, does that become the goal? Is that the fourth cup? Or just cup number one? Is that a stage on the way? But the goal is to become a Mamlechet Koni B'Goy Kadosh? Or is the goal to be just to have military power and that's it? Because you need military power. It's necessary to be a nation to do that. But what do you do after your conquest? What does God see? Ra'iti et Amazeh. What's God see? Based on their behavior at the party. What are they? They're Am Kshei Oref. They haven't changed. Number, in Devarim, how do you fix Am Kshei Oref? U'matem tolat lavavchem. If you follow Devarim, remember? When Moshe tells him in Parshat Ekev, you're an Am Kshei Oref, then he tells him, the answer is U'matem tolat lavavchem. You have to bring milah to your neshama, kind of thing. But that's a shir in Devarim. But listen carefully. What I'm getting at, don't get me wrong. God is an Ish Melchama, and we pray to him to help us in war. But to make it worthwhile for God to help us in war, if he sees that people after the war are going to behave properly and sanctify God in their day-to-day behavior, then he'll help them in war. If he sees the behavior is still Egyptian style, right? If they've gone back to the old Egyptian ways, just read Yechezkel, who talks about that. And what does God see at the party? What I'm suggesting is God is leaving Moshe on Har Sinai to see how the campers are going to act without Moshe. Because that's the final test before they can go take capture. God was hoping that 3-month seminar since they left Egypt, all the plagues and Kriyat Yamsuf and Mara and Mana and everything, they'd be goody-goodies. And what happens? It didn't work. Summer camp wasn't enough. Then he goes, maybe Shana Aleph will be enough. And then realized they didn't say Shana Bet, and they were stuck. And that generation didn't make it. It's sad, isn't it? It's a tragedy. Just read Tehillim Chet, talks all about it. God was hoping. He says, Dor lo ichin libo. It could have worked, but it didn't work.
So this is not short so much, but after World War II,
it
got the 67 war. That's what I'm looking at. 67 war. We won that war, Bigadol. And we gained more of what was the historical understanding of what's B'nai Israel can. So they had to do it by themselves. Otherwise, it would have been destroyed at that point. You following me? I'm
just giving an example of what I'm trying to understand what God's telling the people and why God's so angry. Listen, but when Moshe asked Aaron, what caused you to make them sin? What's Aaron say? You know these kids. You know they're wild, right? And then Moshe says he saw that they think kipro Aaron. Aaron got them to be wild. Don't make a party and think it's going to be okay. Yeah, I say no matter what he would have done would have been bad. I'm saying God. I'm trying to understand why God gets so angry. Yeah.
So were the 40 days and 40 nights a test?
But the whole story is a test, isn't it? Everything's a test. That's how you train people. It's difficult training. Slavery in Egypt is a test. In English, a nisayon. It's a difficult experience you have to grow from. Not every test works. Not everyone who gets into, gets accepted to a Thayer, it makes it through the basic training, correct? It's called miyunim and things like that. So you try, but not everyone makes it. People want, but it's difficult. To be Am Yisrael is difficult. Now, I'm not judging the people. I'm just saying, what are we learning from the story? Now, you can't miss that theme that we need to have an army and fight, etc. But what we do after God helps us in victory is important. And if God sees in our behavior what we're going to do with our victory, that gives him reason to help us in our victory. If he sees we're not going to be God's people properly, why should he help us? Other than scream it. Just read Yirmiyahu, Yeshayahu, read Shlomo's tefillah when he builds a Beit HaMikdash. That's what you pray to do tshuva. That's people ask, give us that to know right and wrong. And help us want to do tshuva. But that's the most basic theme of Chumash. That's all. Again, I'm using analogies from today just to clarify. I'm not taking sides. What we should have done, we could have done. We could always do better, and we could always do worse. We're always somewhere in between. Now let me just finish up because I got to get to my drawing here. So remember, I have there by Hivin so Aaron. The Aaron itself does the same thing that Aaron wanted with the Egel. Remember, something made out of gold leads us into battle. Now, what I would claim is as follows: had it not been for Chet Egel, got it? Okay. What should have happened had we been goody-goodies? Okay, perfect kids. What you call perfect Shiva Bafim. Perfect right side, nothing wrong. And Moshe came down, got it? Whatever, and with the Lord, etc. What should have happened next? Why not? Why hang around in the desert for no reason? I can go right to Israel. It's an 11-day journey, I think, from Har Sinai. Last time I read, the war could take maybe a week, especially if God sends it Sirah. The war could be quick. Why build a portable, temporary temple if I could do what? If I could build something permanent. Now, is there a book that talks about a permanent temple? Sefer Dvarim. Hamakom asher yivchar Hashem l'shaken shmo sham. When? After Menucha v'Nachala. The laws in Dvarim, according to Sefer Dvarim, according to Moshe Rabbeinu and Chumash, were given to Moshe on the first 40 days. If I want to know what's the Torah, just read it. V'zot HaTorah asher sam Moshe. What Moshe goes up, the Torah and the Mitzvah, is Sefer Dvarim. I can prove it. That's a separate share. It's mamish mufurash. Right? The Torah, remember V'zot HaTorah, are the laws of Sefer Dvarim. When he finishes his speech, remember from chapter 5 to 26, he says, write the words of this Torah on big stones in Harival. And every 7 years in Hakel, read this Torah. The Torah is a guidebook of how to be a nation in the service of God. A judicial system, a Supreme Court, with Mishpat Tzedek, a king with proper behavior, who limits his power and doesn't think he's not a dictator, but does his best. He's a CEO running the country to serve God with Tzedek and Mishpat. Right? I have an education system, Kohanim and Levine. I have who goes to war and when you go to war and how you go to war, and fighting wars properly. I have laws for an economic system. Every 7 years, annulling debts. I have laws for our national behavior, our national leaders, our national center. Those laws were given on the first 40 days, and most now, according to those laws, right, if that's the main set of laws we received, together with Parshat Mishpatim, what should have happened? Moshe should come down. We would have gone to Israel, and we could have built a permanent temple. Now,
with or without Moshe.
It doesn't make a difference. Hopefully, with Moshe, but it would have been Hamakom asher yivchar Hashem. Would have been there forever, and that temple would remind us of Har Sinai. You follow? Now, what it would look like? Would I need a korban chatat and olah? Would I need so much korban? If there's no second luchot, Reverend, there's no midat Torah. If I don't need midat Rachamim, if everything's midat adin, maybe I need different imagery. You follow? Maybe I need different rituals because we're on a higher level. It could be the specifics of the Mishkan are because of Chet Egel and midat Rachamim. Got it? Because of the second luchot, but not the very concept. If you follow the Rambam, he says, what's the Ikar in the Mikdash? A Kodesh, are the Mechitzot. Now, they can be permanent, they can be temporary. But the idea, I have a model of Har Sinai. The Mikdash is also a model of Har Sinai. So, had it not been for Chet Egel, there would not have been a need for a portable temple. But there would be a need for a permanent temple. Got it? Now, what causes the need for a portable temporary temple, and what causes the need for a rehab project? To get the nation to prove to God that we can do it right. That's Chet Egel. You with me? In other words, the need for a mikdash has nothing to do with Chet Egel, and therefore, from that point of view, Ramban is 100% right. Does that make sense now? Right? The very need for a mikdash, it makes so much sense. That's why the Ramban is 100% right. But it has nothing to do with the need for a portable temple, which is the Mishkan, which is the what's essence of Mishkan? It's portability, the krashim, the ohalim, right? With everything with badim. It's all about travel. Now, why do we need a portable temple? Because number one, I need a rehab project because this Mishkan has to build has to rehab the nation, not just build the nation. You follow? I need a project to show kasher, that we can follow kasher tzibah Hashem Moshe. I need to take Aaron's idea and do it right. I need a better symbol of God. I have to redo my programming. You follow? I had a good idea, but I got to make a program. It just, that's life all the time. If you ever ran camp, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You learn from your mistakes and you try to do better. You can have great intentions, but you have to make a program that's fit for the kids who are coming to camp and their background. And people coming from all this Egyptian culture and after being slavery, they need something more fit. They need more activity. It's not by chance that the first luchot, God does everything, and Moshe has to carve the second ones. You have to be more involved in the process. Now, back to
Excuse me.
yeah, question.
It's a long, even if what you're saying is believable, that they would go straight to Eretz Israel, the trip is still long. The conquests are still long. Why don't you think that they need?
No, but the travel is 11 days. It's an 11-day journey to Israel. The conquest could be really quick if it could be miraculous, like God first promised. Had to be on the level. But why build it why build it? Why spend a half a year building it, right? And then another half year traveling with it if you're going to go right away. Again, I hear your question. It could be. I'm suggesting a different answer, but it could have been quicker. Now I'm going to get my key point across. But what I'm saying is the very essence of a mikdash, right? A constant reminder of God's presence among us and our commitment to be God's people, like Ramban says, what the top of the Mishkan is, that applies to a mikdash. And it doesn't have to be portable, it can be permanent. It can also be portable, but it can also be permanent. Right? What caused the need for a Mishkan right away? You follow? A portable one. What caused the need for this project? And this whole, like, everyone donating the money and everything. Right? I have to make it a kosher egel. You follow? I have to redo what Aaron did and do it right. Let's go tikkun. That's basically what's happening. Now we get to your question. Why is that out of order? So listen, look at the boxes now in source B. Okay? First, let me explain what the boxes are, because we're over time already. The first box is Yitro Mishpatim, that's Mamad Har Sinai, that's getting the Torah, the Brit. Okay? The box below it, Chafed Lamaraf, is a commandment to build a Mishkan. That's the unit we identified in the beginning. That was the unit. Chet Egel, the story of Chet Egel is Lamed Bet, it's Parsha Kitisa, Lamed Bet, Lamed Daled, and then putting the Mishkan together is Lamed Hey. What's Ramban hold? He keeps it in order. The big arrow. Got it? Ramban holds Har Sinai. Why is the Mishkan right away? Because it continues Har Sinai. What's Rashi hold? First Chet Egel happened, then we built the Mishkan, and then we put it together. Now, had Chumash been in order, listen carefully. Had Chumash been in order, what conclusion might people reach? If we actually went in chronological order and we put the laws of the Mishkan after Chet Egel when it chronologically happened, what conclusion would people reach? That the only reason for the Mishkan is Chet Egel, and wouldn't they notice the need for Mishkan to remember Har Sinai? Yes? They would think it's only a rehab project for Bali Tshuva, you follow? But it's not for Unzura, you follow? You with me? Yeah. But how, even though it happened later, how am I going to highlight the importance of the Mikdash in the Mishkan? You follow? The Mishkan is portable, but in the portable Mishkan there's a Mikdash, which could be permanent. You follow? So to highlight the connection between the Mishkan and Mount Sinai, what did Chumash do? It took a story that happened later and moved it earlier. It's called Smichut Parshiot. I'm trying to understand in boxes, using windows pretty much, what Chumash is up to, and that's Ein Mukdam U'Muchar. That's not just an excuse to be out of order. That's Chumash, the book to study, not just read. And you learn by context. And Chumash says that all the time. It's called Smichut Parshiot. So what's Chumash doing? When I study it carefully, I'll realize chronologically this much had happened later. Then I ask myself, if it happened later, why did Chumash put it earlier? Because it wants you to look at what? At the connection between the box, the Mishkan, and Har Sinai. Got it? So basically, chronologically, Rashi is right. But why is Chumash chronologically out of order? Right? Because of conceptually the Ramban. The Ramban, thematically, Ramban is correct. Chronologically, Rashi is correct. You with me? But the reason why Chumash is out of order, the reason Chumash is out of order chronologically, is to highlight the thematic idea of Ramban. Now, Ramban always prefers to keep Chumash in order. That's his shita. he limits that magic rule, right? Only when absolutely necessary. And Rashi and every Chazal basically are more free to move things around. Yes, that's Ramban Shita. But I'm trying to show you that Ramban thematically 100% right. But it applies to a Mikdash as well as a Mishkan. And when I study the story carefully, chronologically Rashi has to be right, because there's too many parallels between the commandment to build a Mishkan, give me your gold and a symbol of God and everything that goes with it. It's so similar to the Mishkan, to the Chet Egel, it can't be by chance it's happening at the same time. And therefore, everyone can be right. That was my hope. You're sure? That was the goal this year. Is a Mishkan a kosher Egel or a mini Har Sinai? It's both. And therefore, a shul has to be, remember, a community has to build a shul. The shul, right, builds a community and also can heal the community. You follow? So when you have a shul, you need it to build, like, the shul builds a community and also can heal the community, depending on what you do. What you do there. And the same thing, hopefully, if we had a mikdash one day, if a mikdash could heal our community, God would probably give us the opportunity. Right? But if it would cause just another Mechemet Achim, then that's it, or Mechemet Olam, then we have to do it the slow way. Yeah. Okay, we'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll what?
According to the Rabbi,
Okay. No.
That was very nice. I'll be waiting till it's putting it away. If I get it right.
You'll be in a second. You can be in a for Shabbos.
Punishment is not going into Eretz Yisrael.
What?